Hey, there we are. Hey, what's going on, guys? So, got Jessica and People's Place in here. How you guys doing? Yeah, this was an unscheduled thing. Really didn't have much of a plan. I still don't have much of a plan. I'm just going to kind of sit here and bump my gums for a little while and see who jumps in. Can somebody pipe up and let me know if oh, hey, Christina. How you doing? Yep. It's been a really good week for noodles here, man. I've been really excited with this Sri Lankan and how he's coming along. So is the audio good? Can everybody hear me okay? Cool. Outstanding. Hey. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I don't it seems like I'm good as long as I don't have anybody else in here with me. And as soon as I bring somebody else in, I get that echo that just destroys everything. So I'm going to jump over and get all of my stuff squared away so I can keep an eye on stuff. And hey, Christine, are you still showing up as a moderator on here? Hey, John, what's going on, man? James. Okay, so People's Place Rescue. Give me a name that I can associate with that. Feels weird just calling you Peoples. So I need a first name. Hey, Jay, what's going on, man? Yeah, we've gotten... I should have known that. I don't know. Yeah, that just... You ever have one of those senior moments? That was it. I have those all the time, and they're becoming more and more... Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at your message on Facebook, on your comment on Facebook, too, just a second ago. So... Yeah, man, the feedback on the Sri Lankan videos has just been freaking amazing. It really surprised me that that so many people got so invested in just watching handling with him. It's been really cool. Let's see. I've got to address this one. Welcome aboard. And yeah, it's reticulated pythons. Retics are the best snake species. They're the best animal species on the planet. I love them. I've actually got, we've got a descendant of some Reach Out Reptiles super dwarf coming here pretty soon. I've got a enclosure that I'm starting. That cabinet right there is empty right now. I've got to get the heater and all that stuff set up in it. But that is where a new super dwarf is going to be going here pretty soon. Because I've got the two big retics, but it's just too much to film with them. I get down there with a damn 16-foot, 70, 80-pound retic. I'm good for like 10, 15 minutes of fighting with that thing, man, and then I am toast. Let's see. Make sure I don't miss anybody here. Yeah, Jessica's in there. We got to make sure we get Jessica out to our next event. Hey, Jess, by the way, we are doing... Well, yeah, you're in that group anyway. I was just going to talk about the reptile show where we got a table for the educational stuff. And, but yeah, you know about that. You'll be in there. For those of you guys that don't know, too, we do, like we did that public education event out at the park here not too long ago. And that was so much fun. Had Cody from CNA Exotics and Aubrey from A&B Exotics, and Christina and Jim Hill was out there with us. Chris Salisbury, I've got his Gorgon's Head. If you guys are looking for any enclosures, look up Gorgon's Head on Facebook, man. He is on point. He's an awesome dude, has some great animals, does excellent work with enclosures. If I'm not mistaken, I think Christina actually had gotten one. Didn't you get one from him recently, Christina? But yeah, he's a great dude, and I would recommend his enclosures for anything. Let's see. Yep. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is something different that I've never actually heard of anybody really doing this. I mean, I know US Art sets up tables at shows and stuff like that, but Christina and some of the other folks in this group that we started, just a chat group of several keepers and so forth, that had decided it'd be a good idea to go out to one of the reptile shows and just get a table and set up there and not sell any animals, but talk about US Art, talk about husbandry, talk about helping the people they're going through to learn about the animals and stuff like that, and just kind of be a resource for folks. All volunteer basis. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it was really a good idea to do stuff like that. I think it's going to help the folks at the booth as well, just because any of you guys that set up and sell at these shows, you know what it's like having to spend time answering questions for folks and stuff like that. And sometimes, you might get 2, 3, 4 people deep, or somebody, may just end up walking right by your booth because you're talking with somebody else and they don't want to interrupt you. Well, now we'll have another table set up out there so that folks can just come up, ask us stuff. There's no reason why we can't walk around and look at different animals and talk to them about it and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to that. Let's see. I'm so terrible at keeping up with this stuff, but let me see what else we got here. Yeah, this goes back to the Sri Lankan, and it was that's exactly, man, that's one of the most rewarding parts of this whole process with him, because you get him out and you see he's still flailing out of the cage. I've been putting a lot of thought into how I'm going to be able to calm him down, getting him just pulled out of the enclosure, because that's where I'm going to figure that I've been successful in getting him socialized, is where he, I can open up the door and he's no longer afraid to see me. I want to get him to the point where he does the same thing that my Burmese python does, open up the cage and he just, or she, crawls right up on me and stuff like that. I want to get him to that point. But yeah, man, that point where you can see their neck relax and you see them with those long tongue flicks and just starting to test the waters and explore and look around and really start to relax and get into that natural state is just freaking amazing. It's the best feeling of accomplishment ever. Especially as crazy as he was when I got him. Let's see. Oh, wow. See, this is the kind of stuff that I like to see. He doesn't have any snakes yet, but he's planning on getting a Hog Island boa or pearl. I mean, he's talking. He's clearly been doing research and studying and stuff like that, because if you hadn't, you wouldn't even be able to make the distinction between these different animals right here. So, you can really tell this person's been putting some effort into learning about them before getting them. And I haven't personally worked with any blood pythons, but it's my understanding they can be a little bit spicy and tricky sometimes. So, but they are awesome. The big fat noodles. Let's see. I think I already got that one. but we'll put it back up there anyway. Yeah, that educational event that we did up there at the park, it was the cool thing about that. I got a video out on it too. You guys can go to the channel and check it out. But the cool thing about it is I just drove over there one day, asked them if they had any interest in us coming down and doing something like that. And the park director and everybody, it was all just completely alien concept to them. They didn't have any experience with any of that stuff. And I just kind of explained to them how it would work. So, they're kind of gun shy and they're like, well, you guys got insurance for all this stuff, right? And all that, and I was like, we got everything covered. And, we get out there, the guys were great. They helped set us up with tables and chairs and things like that. And, they were so pleased with how everything went. The kids were loving it. And even the adults. The only bad part about it is that, like, when we first started out there, I showed up at, 2:30 or something like that. It was overcast. It was like 75 degrees outside. And I was just on the cusp of saying, well, maybe we need to do this inside the gym because we're about to get rained on. But we ended up getting set up outside, and about 2 hours in, all the clouds break, the sun comes out, temperature goes up 10 degrees, and we got to start hauling our animals off so that they can get cooled down. So yeah, it's one of the bad parts about doing the stuff in the summertime out here in North Carolina is you're at the whims of the weather for the well-being of the animals, and we just had to start cooling them off. And it was a shame because right about the time we start taking everything back, and Aubrey had to take the Aldabra tortoise, and Cody was leaving with the big retic. We had some other folks starting to wander in, and we had like 2 or 3 snakes left out there packing up. So I wish we could have stayed a little bit longer, but still, man, it went really well. And that's something that any of you guys out there that keep or breed or anything like that, if you've got the time and you've got some folks around you that want to do stuff like that, I really highly recommend it. It's such a good thing for us to do. The community was really happy with everything that we did out there. Let's see. Need help with the phobia of snakes. A lot of people do. I've got some big bad pipeliners at work that are terrified of snakes, and I'm bound and determined to get them holding one before the summer's over. And I don't have too much time left to do it, so we'll see how all that stuff goes. Try to get through here, and I'm not going to hit every one of them, but I'm going to try not to miss anything. Hey, look who's here. Good to see you, man. Let's see. God, I'm getting so far behind here. See, this is why I wasn't too worried about not really having a plan starting all of this stuff out, because once it gets rolling and people start getting in, all kinds of questions. I ask you, those rough green snake get babies? Okay, yeah, so the rough green snakes behind me, do I get babies from them? Well, I accidentally got babies from them. I took 2 of them in, and it was probably a couple of weeks after I got them. I went and lifted up their hide when I was cleaning the enclosure and found a clutch of like 10 eggs. They weren't viable, so she was already gravid when I got her. It was such a shame, too, because I've had people asking for them. It would have been nice to have had a viable clutch just out of the blue like that. Then I could have raised them out and got them out to some folks that were looking for them. But yeah, I've got every expectation that they'll end up dropping another clutch at some point. I'm keeping my eyes open. But I mean, those it was the craziest thing. I mean, the snake is so small, especially compared to what we're used to working with. And by comparison, the eggs were so big, I'm surprised I didn't notice. Um, I mean, they must literally line those things up for 3/4 of their body or something like that before they lay. But yeah, it'd be cool to get a good clutch of them. Let's see. Yeah, this is this is something that we hear a lot about the Sri Lankan videos. It's really good to see. There's a lot of people that um, maybe have been having some issues with their newer snakes and things like that just had a kind of a difficult time reading, trying to tell what they're thinking and stuff. And I think this series here does a really good job of demonstrating the transitions that they go through from being defensive to thinking and not being afraid anymore and stuff like that. Because that's the whole goal. I mean, if you're trying to get a snake to calm down, all you got to do is get it to trust you. It's just got to know that you're not going to kill it. Because naturally, and we mentioned this in videos before, I mean, that's people talk about wild animals and stuff like that. But I mean, in the wild, when they're not either chasing prey or being chased by a predator, most animals are really chill, really relaxed. They play, just like kids do. You watch lions, they're running around playing tag and stuff like that, all relaxed. And snakes have got a really calm, natural demeanor in the wild. And if we can just get them to that natural state when they're around us and not being afraid of us, then they do really, really well. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely, you definitely want to get, if you're getting a blood python, you definitely want to get them as a hatchling. Because they're not monster snakes like retics or anything like that. They're still strong. And if you get one that's not happy with you, you're going to you're going to have your hands full. Daily 7 years from being able to get a snake. See, I keep a camera right in front of this thing, so it keeps getting in the way of the text. It makes it a little bit harder for me to read. Outstanding. Yeah, I know, man. Where are you guys at? Where are you guys located at, Katie? And I'll see it when I scroll down to the end of the list. I asked that like it's real time. But yeah, I'm trying to talk everybody into moving to North Carolina. I want Garrett and Kevin and Chris McVicker, Dax and all them. Everybody needs to just move out here to North Carolina. And we need to make sure that every one of our state reps, all the way up to the governor, are all snake people, and just make this a snake sanctuary state. Let's see. Oh, let me try and catch up here. It's moving. Miss Wilson here is in North Carolina as well. Awesome. Let's see. And we've got these guys, South Carolina. Hey, the Carolina Herp Society. There's the old North Carolina Herp Society that's been established for a while. And when Rob and Jeremy came down here from excuse me, when they came down here from up north, from Nerd, them and a couple other folks started the Carolina Herp Society. And we do stuff between North and South Carolina. Got members in both, so it's meant to encompass both of the Carolinas. So you can find all that stuff on. I've got links to it actually at the bottom of all my videos. In the description there, I've got the links to the Carolina Herp Society's Facebook page, so you can go there and join up. And they don't have their 501 status or anything like that yet, but we'll still get together. We did a trip to the North Carolina Zoo not too long ago, which was a lot of fun. We were rolling. We had some pretty cool folks out there, and it was so funny because Jeremy and Rob were out there. We had a couple other friends that came out and just cruised the zoo all day. We pretty much had to get a leash for Rob because every time we'd hit someplace where there's a trail off to the woods, man, he's field herping. You just can't get him anywhere where there's more than like 10 square meters of wooded area. And he's looking for something. And I don't know how he does it, but just about every time he looks for something, he finds it. The guy is a freaking master herper. I kept telling him, I was like, dude, you showed up with a whole pocket full of lizards and snakes and just kind of dropped them on the ground. Look what I found. But let's see. Yeah, I had another thing I was supposed to do too, man. One of the people that was out at the park had asked me if I would do a birthday party for a daughter out at the same park. And I was excited to do it. I was going to go out there and take a couple snakes and stuff like that. But the day before that party, I don't know whether I got musk flipped in my eye or something like that, but I had the absolute worst eye infection where I could hardly open it up. So I definitely didn't want to be out there. Let's see. Definitely didn't want to be out there with kids and snakes and not be able to open up my rooms or not be able to open up my eyes. I'm reading while I'm talking too, so if I say anything completely stupid, that's why. Let's see. See, this is cool stuff. I love to see that, man. And you see so much more of that stuff here recently. People that have been just terrified of snakes in the past or, indifferent about them and so forth. All of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I can't believe how cool these guys are. And I think they're just like meditating, working with snakes. They're just so chill. It's not even funny. Let's see. Answering questions. About my heart rate. The only times I really get nervous with him is first going into the enclosure because I don't like having my hands in there and being in that confined space. Yeah, I want to hurry up and get him out of there. And I know he's going to put up a fight. So it's like, okay. Well, and it's just going in, getting those first bites out of the way. So it's the same thing for both of us. But once he's out, like I said, when he does bite, you hardly feel it, unless he's getting you on the knuckles or something like that. So the bites are so insignificant. But it's not too hard to keep the heart rate down because, the whole goal is to capitalize on every single moment that he starts to be at peace. As soon as he starts to chill out just a little bit, that's why he catches me off guard sometimes, because when he starts to chill out, I chill out even more, and I try and feed that cycle there until we all get comfortable. And he's that last handling session really blew me away. For him to just let me come up under his chin like I was, and it's scratching the side of his head, and for him to still be stretching out and moving really slow and those long tongue flicks was just amazing. What's going on, Morbid? Let's see. Oh, wow. You don't see too many of those. You don't see too many elephant trunk snakes. So, those are really cool. See, this is like the bane of my existence right here, trying to tame squirrels. I've got a huge bag of peanuts that I throw out in the yard all the time, and they're always coming over, and I keep trying to lure them closer and closer as I go, but for some reason they still don't like me. Yeah, there's some good folks out here in North and South Carolina, man. And you get into a couple of the different reptile groups and stuff like that. You'll always have the numbskulls running around in there, as you do in any group. But uh, yeah, for the most part, the Facebook groups and stuff are starting to get a lot better too. Um, if when I first started getting in, you'd see a lot more people. Um, if somebody asks a question, you get so many people getting up on their high horse and telling them how dumb they are. But here anymore, especially the last year or so, you see a lot of people doing a good job of squashing that stuff right out the gate, and telling people to just, back off. We understand you're a genius, but don't try and make somebody look stupid. And, I think it's funny too, because, somebody can ask a question about a snake, and it might be one where somebody might think this is a dumb question, but the person could be an astrophysicist and you just don't know it. And he just doesn't know anything about snakes. It could be infinitely more intelligent than you or me or whoever he's asking a question to. And you just wouldn't know it because they're just not experienced in this one particular field. So it's always good to be humble when people are asking questions, because you don't know how much more they know than you, or how easily they can embarrass you in a spelling bee. So it's always good to try and be nice to people. Hey, Don. I'm working down the list here. Oh yeah, absolutely. Get down, hit the like, hit the share. I don't even know how many people are on. I guess I should probably open this up on YouTube so that I can see what's going on. I mean, I can see the chat in here, but it doesn't give me any stats. So let's see what we got going on here. And turn the volume down. There we go. Okay, cool. Oh, people on YouTube, they're yellow anacondas. Yeah, yellows can be pretty spicy. I don't remember who it was. There's a really good video I'd seen a while back of somebody taking their yellow anaconda out, and it was probably an 8-foot snake. And it just started crawling really slowly up his arm, opened his mouth for a second, really slow, backed off, and I was like, well, no, I'm going to bite. And it was just so nonchalant about it. It was so funny. Let's see. Carpet pythons are a lot of fun. Those are climbers. I've got a jungle carpet python, and I need to start doing more stuff with him. Want to do a video just showing a couple tricks for getting them off of perches, because a lot of people can have, it can be difficult to pull them off. You get an arboreal snake that's wrapped around a perch or something. I think a lot of people have a hard time getting them to release. There's a couple tricks. I need to throw out a couple videos on that. Matter of fact, maybe I'll go back there in a second, pull my green tree python out. And I'll try and keep up with all of this stuff for a little while. I should probably get the new retic out as well and show you guys him. When I got the Sri Lankan python, I got an orange glow phantom male retic as well. That is a lot of fun. He's really cool. And we decided on the names Jay and Silent Bob for him. So Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're about an hour from me then. Outstanding. And Asheville. Asheville's a fun town. Really like that. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of people moving down here from up north. I know I'm originally from the Chicago area, and of course came down, bounced all over the country with the military and so forth, and ended up landing down here in North Carolina just because I do not want to dig my car out of the snow in the wintertime anymore. So let's see if I can find the response to that. I'm going to NARBC in St. Louis. That'd be kind of cool. I haven't been out to St. Louis in a long time. I think the last time I was out by St. Louis, oh my God, that had to have been in the 90s, I think. I think we went out that way when I took break from basic training. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic in 93. God, freaking old. This is why I have a hard time carrying my adult retics around. Yeah. Carpets are really a lot of fun. Mine is so animated. You know, a lot of these other snakes, it's one thing that was really cool. I've been saying for the longest time, easily a couple years, that I can't wait to get a problem snake because all of mine are so well behaved, and I want to get one that's difficult to work with, so that I can start doing videos just like this. And even when I would get a new one, they'd tame down so quick, they'd get comfortable so quick that you really couldn't demonstrate. And I found myself, down there with the retics doing, talking about hypotheticals. Well, if this snake was to do this, then, excuse me, but it just doesn't do it justice compared to actually seeing one that's fighting and then watching the progress like that. You don't see too many of them that you get. And even if you buy one from somebody, it gets shipped to you. Most of the time, most breeders are going to try to socialize it some so that they're not sending you a little hellion. I think it's better for their reputation. It's better for everybody, better for the animal. So yeah, this was a special case, and it really, really made me happy to see him coming around the way he did, just so that folks can see, no matter how bad you think you've got it with your snake, a little bit of patience, a little bit of, I don't care, bite me as much as you want. And, they will eventually, they'll eventually come around. So, Yep. Yeah, there we go. Don't forget to hit the like button and all that cool stuff. Where you at? But you guys are on it, man. You guys are on it. Let's see here. Cool. Reptile Expos in North Carolina. It's just the typical shows around here, really. We don't have too much big stuff going on out here. Raleigh, Durham area and Charlotte. Every now and then there'll be a show come to Greensboro or something like that. But pretty much. And North Carolina is kind of unique too. I mean, we've got those reptile shows that come in, but we've also got some really cool reptile laws down here. And for the most part, it's pretty much wide open, and they haven't jumped on us with anything except the Argentine black and white tegu. That's a restricted species. Blue tegus, red tegus, all that stuff, perfectly fine. Don't need a permit. It's only the Argentine black and whites that we need a permit for. And the issuing body for the permits out here, they've been awesome about it. You hear so much stuff, so many bad stories about FWCs and And, of course, you say that the first thing you think about is what happened down in Florida. You hear so many bad stories about that, but I had called down with a question about transferring animals from one permit holder to another. And the lady that I talked to was a person who actually issued the permits for it. And she was in the process already of helping somebody else rehome their animal. So, they weren't, going full confiscation mode or anything like that, or trying to cite people and fine them or whatever. They were actively taking steps to help rehome animals that needed it, which I thought was really, really cool. Really cool. So that's another good reason to come out here to North Carolina. We got good reptile laws. No, I mean, of course, different cities are going to have different ordinances and stuff like that. But like out here, Guilford County Animal Control, these guys have been awesome. Before events and stuff like that, I'll go down and talk to them, say, hey, man, this is where we're going to be. This is what we're doing. We're going to have really big snake out there. And they'd be like, yeah, you guys are good. I think I've got a couple of them that are subscribers to the channel too, which is cool. Always good to have those relationships. It's one of the things that we got to do. We talk about the U.S. ARC thing. And by the way, anybody that's in here, if you're not a U.S. ARC member, you're slacking. There's no reason not to be. If you've stopped by McDonald's once this month, or Chick-fil-A or Starbucks or any other place, you're capable of doing a U.S. ARC membership. So we need to get everybody on it. But anyway, that's one of the things that we talk about too, is U.S. ARC can't do everything. If we build the relationships with the community ahead of time by doing the public education stuff and making sure that we're coordinating with law enforcement and whatever when we're doing stuff and keeping everything above board, building those great relationships with these guys, then, it's just like anything else, man. It all starts at the grassroots level. Just like in politics, you're not going to throw a third party candidate up there and have them win. You've got to start building those all the way up at the bottom. And then sooner or later you can get to that point. But it's the same thing with all this stuff. You start with your communities. Over time, that stuff grows, from your local communities to the cities. And you do enough of them, you don't know when your representatives or congressmen or something like that are going to come to these events. And, before they come to an event and see how easy these animals can be to work with and how cool they are, maybe they would have voted to ban them. But they get that experience and they get to meet us and they get to learn what it is that we do and what this is all about. Now, when something like that comes across their table, they're going to be a lot less likely to try and really hose us on it. So, okay, I got to start. Let's see, we got. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dre's pretty good dude. If you guys aren't following him, I'll definitely recommend it. I'm going to try and read a little bit more quickly here. I should probably get a snake out at some point. Oh, what's this? Something about rattlesnakes. I can do that. But see, venomous snakes, I don't know about all that because I'm too damn optimistic. I really am. I'm too optimistic, and I think I can do anything. And I'm just too afraid I would really try and kiss it and end up with my lips falling off. So. No, I mean, I've worked with venomous to a little degree, wild, dealing with them in the wild before, not very often because I am a terrible herper and I couldn't find a snake if somebody dumped a bucket of them on my head out in the woods. But yeah, I have had, on job sites and stuff like that, had to move a couple copperheads and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be fun. I mean, I love anything snake related anyway, but I really am one of them guys where, if I was to head out to Africa, I wouldn't come back because I would try and hug something that would eat me. And it just wouldn't be good. But yeah, Jessica, shoot me the details on that. And, if that's something I can make it to, I'm always down to do stuff like that. Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was the first time he'd done that. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm tired of exerting the energy here, and I just want to tell you to leave me alone." I really wish I could have had a camera behind me, so that I could have caught that. It was just the coolest little expression. It was like he was yelling at me. But that's another thing I got to work on too. Even the last one, I end up getting so close to the damn camera, you can only see his head half the time. So I've got to get better at that. One of the things that is the reason for that is I try and use the front facing camera. I'm using my cell phone to record that. Excuse me. And so once I set it up on the gimbal, I can't see the display on it. And the gimbal itself will center on my face. And I need to get it to drop down a little bit so that it'll cover the snake too. But given enough time, I'm going to end up, I've been looking for a camera that is going to be really good for me to be able to see the whole screen and get a little bit better video quality and stuff like that out of it. It's just a work in progress. I don't breed, I don't sell snakes or anything like that. So we're on a limited budget for how much I can spend on stuff right now, but we're getting there slowly but surely. And that would be fun. Definitely be fun. Oh, cool. I'd like to ask you how old your Now monitor is, but I know by the time we get to the answer, we're going to be like 2 other topics. That's the only bad part about doing this stuff. Yeah, you get to a question and you want to start a conversation about it, and then by the time you get down to the response, you've already breached 2 other topics. But yeah, the Nile monitor here is a lot of fun, man. He's 6 foot long from tip of his nose to the tip of his tail, and he's another one that's been really challenging. But he's doing good. He's not, the puppy dog tame black dragons that you see sitting on the back of people's couches and stuff like that. But I don't know that I really want him to do that. Honestly, I mean, I want him to be comfortable. And he's not afraid of me or anything like that. And we work together pretty well. But Niles have just got such a spirit about them. It's such a respectable spirit with these guys. They talk about, since they're an African monitor, as opposed to the Asian water monitors that get a little bit bigger and they've got a little bit less predators out there in their environment. The Nile monitors are a little bit smaller and they're out there with hyenas and lions and all this other stuff that's, trying to make lunch out of them. So they're naturally more defensive and stuff like that. But that spirit that he has got, it's something else. Even still, if he doesn't want to be messed with, if I walk into his enclosure or something like that, he'll look at me and he'll stick his head up and he'll puff his throat out and you'll just see him roll his tail back. And it's been a while since he's really came at me with it. But there's here, over the last few months, there's probably been 1 or 2 times where I'd go in there to sit down next to the tub and he just ever so slowly drops that tail on my shoulder. Like, just leave me alone, dude. I'm taking a bath. But he's doing really, really good. Yeah, he the Sri Lankan, he's wanting to calm down. I'm really excited. I'm gonna go ahead and get him out again tomorrow, and go for Really hoping that I can get a calm exit out of the enclosure out of him tomorrow. But I want to get a good handling session in with him tomorrow, and then I'm going to try to feed again on Sunday. So I'll put him back in. I'll give him time to relax. I may actually, depending on how everything goes, I may actually try feeding him after I handle him, because when I first go into the enclosure, he's so high strung still. And then after I handle him for a while and he gets calmed down, when he goes back into the enclosure, especially this last time, he didn't run straight to the back and hide like he normally does. He came just really casually along the front and just kind of sat there and sat his head up and looked at me. So maybe that will help him eat better. Handling him first, getting him calmed down a little bit, and then offering him food. I'm not too worried about it right now. He's missed the last 2 weekends because he's refused, because he's still really stressed. But he's a healthy snake. That's not going to hurt him. A couple weekends, he'll be all right. Definitely hoping that within the next 2 weekends, I can get a good meal down here. And I think we can do that. If for some reason he doesn't eat again this weekend, I'm really going to go into spending a lot more time with him and get him really comfortable. And I think he will. I think we're going to get a good meal down him here in the next week or two. He's starting to do pretty good. Yeah, I don't get too many calls about snakes. I tell all my guys, I've got I do GPS mapping for natural gas services in my day job. So I've got 3-4 crews working that I've got to kind of follow around. And as they do the installs, I log all the materials that they use and then map all the stuff with the GPS. I tell all my guys while they're out on a job site, you see any snakes, don't freaking take a shovel to it. Call me. I'll make my way over there and get them moved. Because for some reason, man, all these big tough guys just terrified of freaking snakes. Oh man, I was hoping this was going to come through. Let's see. How are you going to... How do I show that? Have I not gotten to it yet? I see the super chat come through, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get this thing up because it's not showing up. Come on, work with me. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you can see how few live streams that I do. Really got to get this thing figured out. There we go. Telly, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I really need to get this thing set up. I had a really cool dancing gecko on vMix that I would play for super chats, but vMix was just I could not get the audio tweaked on that right, so we ended up coming over here to StreamYard. That's what I'm using now. It's a lot more user friendly. So let's see how far. Oh my God. Get over here. All right. I am going to shoot right down to the bottom of the list here. Apparently, I've got a lot of catching up to do. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay. God, I got really far behind. Somebody said, let's get the Sri Lankan out for a bit. Yeah, you think I got a hard time keeping up with the frickin' chats now. Let's see. Do a few quick tips for calming a monitor. Mock charges, headbutts, whips. Would he stop biting? Well, stopping biting is a really good thing. Especially with mine. Last time I got bit by mine, it was actually on the back of the neck. Very unpleasant time. And he stayed there for a good couple minutes. I wasn't going to move. I was really glad that he didn't decide to start rolling or anything, because he could have really easily taken a chunk out of there. Monitors are so much different than snakes when it comes to calming them down. Like with the Sri Lankan here, you see it's a forced interaction. You go in, you grab him up, you let him bite, do whatever he needs to do, and then he starts to calm down. He starts to get comfortable with you, and then he mellows out. Monitor lizards, it's really not advisable to force those interactions with them. The best advice that I got when I first got my Nile monitor, there's a guy named Rob Faust who wrote a book on them, and he's raised them for years and years and years. So he was my mentor. And the best advice that he gave me about working with monitor lizards is have a space big enough to where you can get in there with them and ignore them, and just let them see you. Just be in their presence, let them get used to you. Don't chase them around, anything like that. And let them come to you. And that's, and that kind of ties into to enclosure size. That's why I've got one monitor right now, because I've got a 6 foot high by 8 cage with a full size bathtub in there that I can get into there with him, and just sit there, let him look at me, be in the same space with him, and let him come and check me out as he wants to. And if I really want to interact and bring him over, then I'll bring food with me. They're really highly food motivated, and you'll see it with a lot of the babies. People coming out, taking the tongs and putting the food right up here, let them crawl out on their arms. I mean, all that stuff is really good, but you really don't want to force. You don't want to chase, because that kind of stuff will scare them. That is one of those things where the choice-based handling that comes up kind of in reference to the snake as well. That's where it's really important. But monitor lizards are a lot different. Like for instance, my retics. Well, once I get my retics out of the enclosure, even if they've got a really hot food response, once I snap them out of that food response and they come out and they start interacting, I don't worry at all about getting bit. I don't, once their state of mind is a certain way, I can trust them. The monitor lizard, he's a little bit different. Their moods can change a lot more quickly than the snakes, really. You really got to pay attention to their body language when you're working with them. Something can get their attention. They can perk up, their state of mind changes. They can come over, take a pop at you or something like that. With Niles, I had a time where I had him outside, and he's his most chill when he's outside. He loves getting out there and exploring. And I went up to him one day, and something happened, something tweaked with him. And I started to walk up towards him, and he cocked that tail back. And I was like, well, hell. And I still had to pick him up and get him moved. So when I reached down to pick him up, he let loose with that tail, and I had a 1-foot-long welt on my side under my ribs for a week. He just laid into me like it was no tomorrow. So you just got to really kind of stay on your toes and really watch them. And do your best to not force any interactions with them. And then just slowly, as they start coming up and interacting with you, start desensitizing them. One thing that you don't hear too many people say is that I really like that. You always hear people say you never come in from over top, because that's the predator response that you get going with them. If you've got a big monitor lizard, you don't want to be coming in right in front of their face. It's cool when they're a baby. When they're younger, coming up in front of their face and you're trying not to scare them and stuff like that. But once they get bigger, those teeth can do damage. A 6-foot lizard gets a hold of your hand. You're going to feel it. It's going to draw blood. You might need stitches. It's going to hurt. So, and sometimes they can just be reactive. Even if you watch Camp Keenan on his channel, it was a few months ago, he was in one of his Asian water monitor enclosures. She was up there, and he made the fist and put it up in front of her like that. And as soon as it got close enough, man, she latched on, took a chunk out of him. I don't know if she took a chunk out of him, but bit him, you know. So I don't come in right in front of Niles's face anymore. He is to the point where I'll come in over top of his head, so that, you know, in order for him to bite me, he's got to look up and shoot up at me. So I've got enough time to react. But he's desensitized to that now. So I'll come in over top of his head and start interacting with him that way, and then work my way around. Because I'm not going to be putting my hand right in front of his mouth. Yeah, you'll see some folks that have got theirs that can do that with them. I just choose not to. It's not worth it. You know, when these things latch on, it's not just about us getting hurt, not just about us getting bit. It's about them having a bad experience and that sticking in their head. You know, they're latched onto you. You're trying to get off of them. If it gets too bad, you know, you've got to control them and get them off or whatever. And just a bad experience all the way around. So, you know, avoiding bites is just as much for the benefit of the animal as it is for the benefit of us, and not having to get ourselves stitches. And stitches are bad. Let's see. There we go. Yep. Yeah. And as I start going back through these things, man, the topic's going to start bouncing around, but I'll try and keep up. But yeah, you know, honestly, Christina is right on point here. We've gotten lucky. The reptile community has gotten really, really lucky over the course of the past year or so. You know, it started with the kid out in Raleigh who had that cobra escape and was free in the neighborhood for as long as it was, and we were completely convinced that was gonna result in a lot of bad mojo. It got some bad press, but fortunately, nothing terrible came of it. And then, you know, a few months later, or not a few months later, but a few months ago, we had that guy get killed by his 18-foot retic up in Pennsylvania. Another thing where you're like, oh, damn, you know, the cops going in, shooting a retic off of a guy. Again, you know, we got really lucky that the press didn't really get a hold of that and run with it. But, you know, our luck's always capable of running out. You know, you can only have so many things happen before somebody takes notice and decides that it's going to adversely affect us by making laws about these animals. It's one reason. That's another reason why it's so important for everybody. You know, if you're a reptile keeper and you're experienced and you got a bunch of knowledge, you need to share it. You know, get out, make a YouTube channel. You know, you don't. You can see how I am. I'm not the most eloquent speaker in the world or anything like that. I've just got some unique experiences, and I get on and talk about it. You know, anybody can do that stuff. And, you know, if it's done in a way that helps the community and helps educate people and helps newer keepers and stuff like that, do it. You know, get some folks together and do the public education stuff, because that's how we're going to keep people from getting hurt. It's how we're going to keep animals from getting abused. It's how we're going to keep bad laws from getting, you know, keep Phil Goss from pulling his hair out, from having to run behind all the reptile keepers and clean up our messes, because he's got enough stuff to deal with. Let's see. Herping stuff. Yeah, I'm not I don't do a whole lot of herping. You know, I'll go out periodically, just kind of snoop around, see what I can find. But yeah, I don't do a whole lot of time out in the woods anymore. Let's see if I can get down here. Okay, let's see. Oh, Jordan came in. Where's he at? Haha. Hey, I hope you're still in here. I'm not entirely sure how far down the chats I am, but I'm going to, if I missed anything, let me know. Okay. Let me get this last little string. I think I got caught up all the way to the end here. So, yeah, I don't know if you see. You wasn't in here when I showed it earlier, Jordan. But there's the cabinet. I still got to get in there and get the heaters and stuff put in, and get him set up with all of his platforms and stuff like that. And, get this thing off. Woohoo, there we go. Yeah, now the camera is gonna wobble. See, I need to hire a camera person. I need to find somebody. It's like a, I'll start petitioning around the local news channels or something like that and see if I can find a videographer that wants to volunteer their time. Yeah. Thank you. You rock. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I do need to I need to get an animal out, I guess. I'm trying to see who's gonna be. Hey, he made it. Yeah, I'm really excited. This will be my only super dwarf. Jordan is sending me one from his clutch that he just produced, and I am really excited. Like I said, I definitely need smaller snakes to film with anyway. Somebody mentioned hog noses. Really, maybe I'll start keeping my hog nose up here too, so that I can get them out. Let me see here. I'm gonna go ahead and get the green tree python out really quick. This is morning time for him. He's a night owl. But, you doing, bud? How you doing? Get over here. Okay. So this is a little bit on working with these guys. Get his face up there. See if he's gonna wake up. So male Aru green tree, and he's just gonna stay on this perch for a second till he decides to wake up. Here we go. Let's see if we can get him. All right. Let me see if I can move the camera down. I can see that it's too high this time. Come on, bud. This is something for those of you that don't have these, that are considering getting one. They got a bad reputation. It is what it is, but they're really not too bad. This one right here, he's never taken a shot at me. The Aru is a little bit smaller, a little bit more docile than a lot of them, and the handling with them is so much different. It's definitely something that I don't recommend for somebody that doesn't have a whole lot of experience working with snakes, because, for instance, this one right here, these are really they're a lot more fragile than your typical, retics, berms, stuff like that. They're a lot more fragile animals, and they require a lot more patience working with them. Just like here, the reason why I take him out on the perch is because you can't just reach in and pull them off their perch, because they certainly won't go without a fight. But Yeah, it just takes a little bit more patience getting them off. And this guy likes to sleep during the day. Comes out at night every morning when I wake up is when he's just finishing running around the enclosure for the night and getting ready to go to sleep. But with the arboreal stuff, you just kind of wait for them to start exploring, looking around. And as they do that, as they move, they'll move off their perch. You just don't want to force it, especially their tails, because their tails, man, they're so small. The bones in their tails are so small that if you force them, it's real easy to hurt them. So, yep, there we go. And of course, he's going into the chair. There we go. Where's he at? He always takes off. Hey, where are you going? Get back here. Get up here in a second and get him collected up. Oh, here we go. Say hi. Playing hide and seek. Oh, he's on that side. And go ahead and get him off so he's not hiding behind the chair the whole time. What are you doing, crazy? Come on. Come on. All right. He's such a good-natured animal. He just loves to get out and run around. Yeah, this is the end result that we're looking for with the Sri Lankan too. What are you doing? I don't know too many people that'll take their green tree and let their face get right up in their nose like that, but he's just a good boy, ain't you? Just a good boy. Let's see. Oh, the that's the way it came. I mean, all it is, it looks like the enclosure was built with just PVC perches. They're notched, so they sit on a notch inside there, and you can just pull them out real easily. It looks like they're just painted brown for aesthetics, but they're so easy to work with. You know, I love the enclosures that have got all the big sticks and a naturalistic look and stuff to them, but it can be so much like it would have been so difficult to get him out of there if he was sitting on something that was fixed. I'd have to sit there in the enclosure the whole time and try and get him worked off of that thing. Whereas if you've got the removable perches for him, you can just do like I did, pull him out, let him hang out when he's ready to come off of it. And then he does. Yep, he sure does. And there's some holes in the back of that behind my head that he likes to get himself caught up in. Let's see. Oh, what do we got going on here? We'll be at the right place. I must have missed something there. I guess have you got a snake that you're giving away over there on that's Ken? Ken, is that his name? I don't remember what his name is. I know who you're talking about. But Oh yeah, this he's a wonderful animal. He's a little bit hyper. He'll do that when he decides he wants to just go and do his own thing. His head starts shaking. It's a little bit unnerving because he'll come and he'll like vibrate his head, and I'll actually have him. There'll be times where he'll be up on top of my head, and he'll start pushing down, and his mouth will be closed, but I can still feel his top teeth coming through and poking me in the head when he does that. These guys got monster teeth. Oh, about me, apart from snakes, what else do I do besides snakes? I guess I'll go into that. Let me make sure I don't miss any questions or anything like that, and I'll do the quick life story thing. I've had a couple people ask me about that. Um, it's been interesting. Let's see, last month and a half. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's got to be really sad seeing stuff like ball pythons and stuff like that being released. I mean, there is no reason for that whatsoever. And you can always find somebody that's willing to take in an animal. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yep. I tell you what, man, it's such a catch 22. I absolutely love animals, and for the community of people around reptiles, I like. Um, it's always a catch 22. I like being social. I like interacting with people, but the number of people that I like interacting with, and it has to do too with getting older, I guess. Um, you find so many people that are just bullshit artists, and I just don't have the stomach for that. I was actually out on a job site, and one of the traffic control guys was um, bragging himself up for all the people that he had, you know, all the people that he'd seen die in combat and all that other shit. And I was like, "Oh, what unit were you in? What division were you in?" And he couldn't even answer basic questions. The guy was just freaking lying about it. I'm like, just go away from me. Get the hell out of my face, because I got nothing for a liar. Especially, one that's gonna sit here and start acting like a damn combat vet. I was like, you're talking to a disabled combat vet of 2 wars, so get out of my face. But that's what I think about people most of the time, which is why I love so many of the people that we meet in the reptile community, because I mean, this is one thing about working with these animals, is they will keep you honest and they will keep you humble, because you've got to respect them and you've got to operate on their terms if you want to be successful with them. I don't care how big your ego is. I don't care how much you think you know. It all goes out the window once you get one that wants to fight you. And you just got to work with them on their terms. And I think that's why most reptile keepers are some of the most honest people that you're going to meet, man. Some of the most respectful. I mean, you guys are awesome. And especially the community of folks that I've got around Intrepid Exotics, man, the subscribers and stuff like that. Guys rock. Among the only people that I voluntarily interact with, besides my animals. Let's see. I think he was in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. That's exactly what I do. That's my history. I drink coffee and know stuff. No, I used to could. Maybe if I had a time machine, I might could again. I'm old and I limp, and my animals make me tired. So, yep. Yeah, Jessica's hit a nail on the head. Yeah. Leading by example is the only way to do it. There's an approach when interacting with people and stuff like that. You know, you see you'll see sometimes some people saying how intelligent they are, how smart they are, or if they hear somebody else say something that they think is dumb, they'll be like, you know, really quick to tell them how dumb they think they are. But things go a lot better if instead of coming up and just telling somebody, hey, I know more than you, that doesn't mean anything. Show them, say something. Instead of telling somebody you're intelligent, say something intelligent. You know, it does a couple things. One, it doesn't make you look like a complete arrogant prick, and it gives you an opportunity to build bridges with people and open doors. And you know, if you say something intelligent and they can learn something from it, so it's a big positive, much more positive experience all the way around. So, off topic, but just philosophies and stuff like that. Yeah, Christina, if you're talking about the folks out here that are always getting together and doing stuff when we can, yeah, it's an amazing crew of people. Aubrey Pruitt's right down the road, and he's just an amazing guy all the way around. He's got a fenced-in backyard. It's secured for his Aldabra tortoises that just roam around in the backyard. And he's got some amazing animals over there. He actually gave us the Sri Lankan and the OG Phantom retic back there. Those are from him. And yeah, just an awesome guy. Cody from CNA was out there with us. Like I said, Chris from Gorgon's Head. He's an awesome dude too. He's a lot like me in the respect that the only people he can really stomach is people in the reptile community. But honestly, I think that's the way most of us are when it's all said and done. Yeah, I don't know. You know, one thing I learned this years ago. Many of my stories are best told amongst peers in that field. The time that I was a prison guard, and I was maximum security prison guard for a while, and I'll back up and go into all that stuff here in a little bit after I maybe end up catching up with the comments. But yeah, we could only hang out with each other. Our sense of humor was so twisted and so dark that if we went into normal social settings, man, people would just step away. You know, when you work in certain environments, you get a certain sense of humor developed, and you just kind of pull yourself away from normal society a little bit more. So, and a lot of my old stories were, yeah, I would tell them. People wouldn't believe them anyway. And it's like, okay, cool. I've got a handful of people that have seen some of the situations that I'll tell stories about sometimes, and but outside of that, yeah, it's all locker room talk. Let's see. First air cav at Fort Hood. Yep. I was a mechanized engineer when I first went active duty. I was living in Denton, Texas, got stationed at Fort Hood when I re-upped with the first cav. And then went to Bosnia in 98 when I re-upped. It was really kind of funny because I got there. They gave me orders to battalion. I wasn't specifically assigned to a company yet. You know, there's several companies, a battalion, a brigade, and all that stuff. But so they didn't have me pinpointed to the right company or to a specific company. And I was just like, who's deploying first? And I was like, Alpha Company's going to Bosnia in 30 days. I was like, okay, that's where I want to go. So let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking using Texas. Yeah, I've been to Evansville. Actually worked security. You may be familiar with this. The French Lick Riverboat Casino that opened up many years back now. I was working security on that casino when it was opening. So yeah, we would be in Evansville. Let's see. Hey Susan, how you doing? Hopefully you're still on it. I'm not too far back on the comments or anything. Really love the interaction on the videos, man. Susan, you got a lot of nice stuff to say, man. I really appreciate it. See. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's one thing, man. People talk about snakes, but they are infinitely more honest than a human being will ever be. I can look at my snakes and know exactly what they're thinking, what they want a lot of times. I can trust them. I can have this crazy green tree python and forget that he's around my neck and not worry about him biting me. Nope, I haven't worked with Bob today because I got home from work and I had an old man moment, had to take a nap. And by the time I got up, it was time to eat and got a couple things done. And I decided I was going to go ahead and just do a live stream, sit here and bump my gums for a little while because I find myself doing this stuff all the time. You know, I'll be sitting here relaxing at night, flipping through, and the only thing I see is the ball python live streams where showing one morph after another morph of ball python. And, you know, these guys do excellent work with ball pythons. Love it. Awesome folks. But I've got 2 ball pythons. One's a normal, one's a ghost. And I'm not even really big on genetics anyway. I'm more handling and interacting with the animals. I don't care if it's white, black, purple. I'm much less concerned about what morph an animal is than I am about just the experience of interacting with it. Yeah, I have people ask me all the time, you know, what morph is this? What do you think this is? I just refer them to somebody I know that studies that stuff, as opposed to guess and give them bad information. I don't want somebody coming out and saying, well, Tim said it was this, because I know what I'm talking about with handling and assume that I know what I'm talking about with genetics. I would rather defer to somebody else than be wrong. And maybe one of these days I'll start breeding and I'll start paying more attention to it. But you can really get deep into a lot of the different morphs with these animals and stuff like that. So I appreciate that, John. Appreciate that. And if you guys aren't keeping up with John at Tipping Scales too, man, you guys really need to. He puts together some really good stuff. His editing, top notch. He's a really well-spoken guy. You know, he does a really good job of hitting some of the more controversial topics too, without coming across dramatic, I guess. He does it, and it's not Jerry Springerish. It's matter of fact and stuff like that. Really, really bright guy. Matter of fact, when I get done here, I'll try to remember to I'll link some of these guys' channels and stuff like that in the description so you guys can follow along with them. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, episode 6 hit. Let's see. It's my opinion on Slither. If you look back through my videos, you'll see a couple months ago, maybe it was, I did a video. It was actually a 2-hour long discussion with Kagan, who used to be the manager out there at Slither. And we go into great detail and the whole situation out there, exactly what it was like and so forth. Um, that's it was a video that took me a long time to come around to making, because when I was first, are you getting hyper? And why are you upside down? Are you ready to go home? Let me put him back really quick. He's getting a little hyper and antsy, and I think he really wants to go home and chill out. Your little butt back in there. You're good. Okay. So he's back. I guess I'll spend about 5 minutes talking about that. Slither, Samson Pruitt, that whole thing was just terrible, and he needs to be shut down, period. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna happen. With the move, I understand he lost some animals. And I'm quite certain as soon as all the pressure started being applied to him, he started cleaning up his act and stuff like that. But my knowledge of that comes from being out here in North Carolina before I, as I was getting into the community and so forth, trying to meet people locally. His place was 30 minutes away from me. And I ended up leaving a job making about 4 times as much, specifically so that I could go down there and work with the snakes. Got there, it was terrible condition, and I ended up spending several months out there taking care of, I was responsible for the adult females, taking care of about 300 of them. And the average size was probably maybe 12 to 14 feet, with snakes reaching up to 22 feet and over 200 pounds. We had wild caughts out there. We had a lot of animals that weren't socialized. We had a lot of animals that had been mistreated. And I went in there, I seen everything, and just got it stuck in my head that I was going to make the situation better. And I did. And I spent several months, getting the standards and everything up, making sure that everybody was cleaned. It was a lot of work, incredible amount of work taking care of that many animals. And so when I finally left there, after a little while, of course, people are like, well, why didn't you say something? Well, Samson's got this habit of, as soon as anybody says anything about him, he just goes on and tries to complete character assassinate you on social media. And getting into a social media pissing contest with somebody doesn't accomplish anything. It's got to come out in the way that it came out, with all of that evidence collected, all of the people there speaking out on it and so forth, and getting that problem resolved. But I actually owe a lot of the existence of this channel to that, because I gained so much experience working with hostile reticulated pythons out there. I spent, I had retics before I ever went there, and I spent a lot of time studying Kevin McCurley's handling techniques and stuff like that from Nerd, and practicing that with my animals. And then once I got out there and I had 300 adult retics at my disposal to handle and practice all those techniques with, and study their behavior, and really work on getting to know the animals, it was just an invaluable experience that you just can't get anywhere else, other than in a facility where you're working with a lot of them. But anyway, like I said, the whole story and everything, Kagan and I go into everything on that one video. So I really encourage folks, if you're curious about that, go on there. There's a lot of firsthand information, but I'm confident that I can walk into any retic facility in the world and manage those animals. And I really wanted to be able to share that experience with people that don't have the ability to do that are getting into retics or larger constrictors and stuff and really need help. So ultimately, everything has really turned out for the best. We've had so much positive feedback and been able to help so many people learning their animals and have better experiences with them and stuff like that. It's this whole thing, I've been able to turn this into a huge positive. So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but that's kind of the brief overview. If you want to know more, check that video out. I'm always open to questions and stuff like that, but anyway, and yeah, Intrepid Exotics is just simply an experienced keeper talking about the animals. And I think this I think what I just said kind of answered that question. I don't do any breeding. We do public education stuff, and of course the YouTube. We'll do stuff like if somebody's having a hard time with their animal, or I'll get messages a lot saying, "Man, I don't get it." All of a sudden, when I open up the enclosure, my snake's mad at me, and it's hard sometimes to just give them advice over a text conversation. So I'll do video chats with people where they're like, "Okay, have somebody hold the phone up and video what the snake is doing when you open the enclosure, and I'll help you read its behavior and kind of help cue you in on some different handling techniques and help fine tune that stuff." And that's been really helpful for a lot of folks. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that we do. It's growing. I mean, we're up over 6,200 subscribers right now. The Patreon is starting to grow. As this thing starts to grow, I'll take it as far as it'll go. I mean, if I get a big enough Patreon following and the channel starts doing well enough, then I'll start devoting all of my time. As long as I can pay the bills, I would much rather be doing this and constantly setting up public education events and doing birthday parties or whatever, and putting out content full time. So it's I guess if I had to answer what is Intrepid Exotics, it's growing. And what it is contingent on what the community wants. And if the community gets behind us and wants to see us get bigger, then we will. I'll spend the rest of my life working with these animals, man. If I had the opportunity to get as big as Jay and have the resources that he has to work with, then I think we could put out better content, because I wouldn't be intentionally pissing my animals off just to get attention. We could educate people and get attention that way. Here I go, ignoring the chat, and must have missed her. Yeah, it was a bit of a delicate subject, but the fact of the matter is that I just needed to make sure that the community knew who I was and knew what I was all about. And I've had, leading up to all of that stuff coming out, I had some pretty big names in the reptile community calling and talking with me about it as we was kind of formulating approaches and people wanting to know exactly what happened and what the truth is. So let's see what else we got here. She said, yeah, the snake blends in with my, yeah, I guess he did. I guess he did pretty well. I'm going backwards here. So if you're trying to keep up. Oh, yeah, blue tongues are awesome. I have a hard time not buying them when I see them, but I've got finite space. So I can't get everything that I want, unfortunately. One of these days, I'll get more. Awesome. See, sorry I missed you there, man. I'm guessing he's off. See, I love Christina. She's got my back. I'll tell you what, man. Christina Hill, the genetics nerd that I just put up here, man. She's awesome. She's an awesome person. She's the very first person that carried me through my first live stream on YouTube. And she's had my back through everything. Every time I'm not 100% sure if I'm doing something right, or she's the one that I bounce stuff off of. So she's kind of like my conscience. Wow, I missed a lot of comments. Woo, I'm going to miss so much stuff. Awesome. Yeah. I'm really going to start putting some effort into getting the Patreon build up. I'd really like to start doing what Garrett with Reach Out Reptiles does, is pick a day and do his open Zoom call for all the Patreon members and stuff like that. Which would be cool. I've got some other stuff that I'd like to see happen. Just get it built up. I need to start, actually posting more videos and working on building that up, because I mean, quite frankly, I could, with 6,200 subs on YouTube, if I could get 10% of those folks onto the Patreon page, then that would just about make it so that I could focus on doing this and doing a reptile education and stuff full time. And then, of course, from there, just keep building and keep being able to put out better content, get more animals out for everybody and stuff like that. Start the rescue stuff that I want to do, because there's so many times I just had somebody out in Louisville the other day that had an animal that they couldn't manage, that they really needed to find a home for. And I'm just not in a position, don't have enough space. Can't afford to continually be buying enclosures and stuff like that, because this stuff's not cheap. So yeah, I mean, it would be nice to really be able to devote all of my time to this, because I know with the community behind me like that, we could do a lot of good stuff for a lot of good people. Should really be cool. So I am going to be working on getting that built up. And yeah, I seen Jordan come through, man. I appreciate it. Jordan's a good dude too. He just recently started a YouTube channel as well. So I will make sure to be putting that up there. Yeah, well, fortunately, Christina, we end up catching each other at opposite ends of the spectrum. When you're all fired up, I'm mellow, and when I'm and vice versa. So it's, so far, we haven't both been fired up at the same time very often. People might be in trouble the day that ever happens, but yeah, that's something that I'd like to do. I'd like to have a spot set up where I've got like some emus and stuff out there, and tortoises and stuff that the kids can interact with and so forth. So, oh, awesome. Absolutely appreciate that, Mitchell. You guys rock. You guys are really awesome. I'll tell you what, man, I joke about this, but people will complain about the reptile community, but some of the people that I've met out here have literally restored my faith in humanity. There's just some really amazing people in this community, and that says a lot. I mean, coming from a military background, you know, a lot of times we kind of stay in our little community. You know, it's just like when I was doing the prison guard thing and all that. You know, you stay in your little cliques, stay within your profession, because you can't really relate to people outside of it all the time. So let's see if I can burn through some more of these comments here. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm really happy with how he's coming along. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to put him up on my shoulders and not stress it. I was so close on that last video for just saying, you know what, hell with it, and get up there and chill out. But then I remembered that I like to see, and if he gets a hold of my eyeball or something like that, then I'm in bad shape. So let's see. Ah, how did I miss that? Did you just jump in here? That's Jim. That's Christina's husband. He does a lot of stuff with us too. He's an awesome guy. Awesome guy. See, Christina and Jim, they end up doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. There's a lot of bigger names that you guys have probably seen, where they were kind of down low behind the scenes helping out and stuff like that. And they let us, the rest of us goobers, get on camera and stutter and stuff like that, and figure things out while they cover our back. Okay. Oh yeah. And I really look at this. Ooh. Hey man. I see him coming across the comments all the time. It's good to see you. Good to see you. But yeah. Then the names for these guys. I keep slacking. Decided to call him Jay and Silent Bob. And of course, we was bouncing back and forth trying to figure out which one's Bob, which one's Jay. The Platinum is a blonde. The Sri Lankan, brown hair. So we're thinking the Sri Lankan's going to be Bob and Jay's going to be, but I had such a hard time getting around trying to call him Silent Bob when he's the noisiest animal in the house and he's hissing constantly. So we're just trying to help him live up to his name right now. That's going to be the that's going to be the goal. Let's see. Yep. And again, sorry if I'm missing stuff, missing comments and stuff like that. One way it's absolutely, I don't miss any super chats. If you throw those up there, if you absolutely have something that I missed and you want to throw up there, then feel free. If not, you can keep putting the stuff down there and I'll get to it as I can. And like I said, I got to try and figure out a way to get that gecko back on here. I thought about, I need to try and get a hold of Clint, I guess, and see if he's cool with this, because on his live streams, he has got that really high pitched, I don't even know if I can do it without injuring myself, super chat. I need to get a little video pop up, something like that, and just have a button I can hit to do that. I just can't do it. My vocal cords aren't built like that. Let's see. Know about dragon snakes? Yeah, they are. They're gorgeous. My understanding, I've never kept them. I've never worked with them. But it's my understanding they're among the most difficult snakes to keep in captivity. Those are something that, I mean, I would say, unless you're a biologist that's able to keep those things in a very controlled environment that mimics their natural environment. I think keeping dragon snakes is the equivalent of trying to keep marine iguanas. It's just a really tough one to keep in captivity. So So I guess for anybody that's still hanging out, what do I do outside of snakes? Well, I talked about, what I'm doing now. Kind of going backwards, I guess, from now. I've been out in North Carolina going on maybe 8 or 9 years now. Came out here, was doing construction project management and stuff like that, for a couple of different general contractors. And that is probably one of the most unpleasant jobs in the world, dealing with all these different subs out here. It can be challenging to say the least. But so I was born in Gary, Indiana, and that's a little old steel mill town that is just east of Chicago, right on Lake Michigan. After Vietnam, it really went down the toilet. It was the murder capital of the world for a long time. A really rough city. So I spent a lot of time as a kid growing up in that area. And of course, we moved. We had a spell where we moved down in Mobile, Alabama, and then up in Michigan. And I spent some time in Ohio as a kid. So I was kind of bouncing all over the place. Didn't have the most productive childhood, but ended up leaving home at 17 years old, and it wasn't too much longer after that I ended up moving into a martial arts school. And I'd moved into a new town. I'd seen it. I decided to go in, start training. And, I was a 17-year-old kid, highly motivated, didn't have anything else going on in my life. And a senior instructor lived there. And after a couple months, he gives me the keys to the dojo. I started coming in to help him and stuff like that. And he said, if you ever need a place, you've got one here. And oddly enough, a couple weeks later, I took him up on it. So I lived and trained there for 2 years, training like a madman. For anybody that does martial arts, it was it was MMA before MMA was a thing. It was kind of an open school where we had instructors there from the whole myriad of different systems. Traditional Japanese karate, Thai boxers, Kempo guys, jiu-jitsu guys, judo guys. We had a whole slew of everybody there. And it was a whole Heinz 57. It was more really a combination of Aikijitsu and Muay Thai. So you can imagine, and we did some pretty insane training. By the time I'd left there, a couple years later, my instructor had taken terminally ill and retired up to Canada, and I stuck around for a month or something like that. But I mean, by the time I left there, you could have thrown me into a herd of wild boar, and I would have come out without a scratch. He could have hit me with a truck, and I just kind of bounce off. We trained like mad out there. So I left there, kind of bounced around a little bit. I started kickboxing a little bit, and ended up deciding to apply to a couple different places for work. I applied to a state prison and the Border Patrol at the same time. And I got hired into both of them. I got my, initial acceptance letters at the same time. And since I had lived right down the road from the prison that I was going to be working at, I decided to go with that. So at 19 years old, I went on as a maximum security prison guard in one of the roughest prisons in the state. It was an interesting experience for a 19-year-old kid. So I spent a couple years doing that. Bounced out, ended up in Texas. Wait, where was it? Let me see. God, I haven't even talked about this stuff in so long. I don't even remember it now. But before I got hired on with those guys. It was actually when I went to basic training. So I did 3 years I initially went in for the National Guard, did 3 years. A lot of that time I spent on a marksmanship team in the Guard. I got out, had left the prison. I was there for 2 years. Like I said, I was an employee, not a resident, although it feels all the same. Ended up moving down to Texas, re-enlisted in active duty. And that was when I started my active duty stint down in Fort Hood, Texas, as a mechanized combat engineer. And it was cool because I deployed to Bosnia, and I don't know whether it was because of my civilian experience or what, but I got detached from my engineer unit and put in charge of a security element for a military intelligence officer out there for a force protection team. So I got pulled out of my regular job and put into doing that, which really exposed me more to the non-conventional side of the military, which I just loved. I mean, it was great. Just driving around Bosnia, talking with people, collecting intel and stuff like that. It was really neat. So I came back and I decided I wanted to go to Special Forces selection. I came back, started prepping for that. I went the first time, hurt my knee, had to quit. That killed me. That was the most painful thing I ever done in my life. I was walking through the woods one night on a land nav course. It's pitch black outside, and walking through, and down at Fort Bragg, the woods will burn. Sometimes, you get fires out there, and then trees will burn, and a stump will continue to burn into the ground, make a hole there, and then it'll cover up with leaves and whatnot. So you can't see it. So I was walking along, fell knee deep in one of them holes, and hyperextended my knee. So I had to kind of hobble myself out to the road, and had the option of either continuing and destroying my knee the rest of the way or quitting. So I went back, rehab 6 months later, got selected. So I made it through selection on my second round, and they had 4 jobs that you could go into for Army Special Forces as an NCO. You're a combo guy, you're a medic, you're a weapons specialist, or you're an engineer. And I was already an engineer. I knew how to build things. I knew how to blow things up. That's what I wanted to do on the SF side of the house. But they give you they give you some tests and look at your scores and whatnot. And they ended up forcing me into the medical course out there. And I tried to fight it. I am not a doctor. I break things. I don't fix them. I don't want to fix them. I don't want to be out in Africa inoculating kids or something like that. I want to be running around with a salt pack full of C4 blowing stuff up. But it didn't make any difference what I told them. It was like, nope, our attrition rate's too high. We got to take the guys with highest scores, put you in a medic course. So I did that. We would go through the small unit tactics phase of the Special Forces qualification course out of Fort Bragg, or Camp McCall is where that was at. But did that, did BNOC for there, and went over to the MOS portion. The actual MOS school for Special Forces medical sergeants, a year long. And the first 6 months of that course, we went from, learning basic cellular biology, this is cells, cell membranes, nucleus, what's in it, all the way from that to doing live tissue trauma procedures, and cover everything in between in the course of that 6 month period. And then at the end of that 6 months, you actually go in and do an emergency room rotation. And a lot of our guys would come back talking about how they had to, keep some resident from killing somebody, from doing something stupid. I mean, it was really like drinking through a fire hydrant. But I got about 6 months through that and decided that's just, you don't finish selection and then tell them you're not going to go to the Q course. But after all of that, I just didn't want anything to do with it. I decided I was just going to get out completely. I love the science of medicine, but I don't want to be the one responsible for saving somebody's life. It takes a special person to do that. Yeah, the paramedics and everybody out here in the civilian side, all the respect in the world for those folks. It's not an easy job, but But it wasn't me. So I left. Had every intention of just getting out and going back civilian side. And so I was working at Range 37 out there at Bragg, the Special Operations Sniper and Urban Combat School. And then Iraq happened in 2003. So I got cut orders for the 101st Airborne Division. Went over there, did a year in Iraq, and came back, got a knee surgery, and got out. And then I started doing, a bunch of stuff civilian side without going into my whole friggin' resume. I had taken a couple federal jobs, did some security operations work and stuff like that, but then just started moving more into doing like construction management, things like that. So it's just been one of those things where, you're 50 years old and you don't know what you want to do when you grow up. But I got a job right now. It's not too bad. It doesn't hurt the knees too much, and it's like I said, it pays the bills for now. If we can get the whole community built up and start focusing on this stuff full time, then it'd be great. But so yeah, in a nutshell, there, that's it's a short version of my backstory. But yeah, it is really amazing. When I went over there, the actual mission for my engineer unit was supervising the Croatian deminers out there, who were actually out there in waist-high grass, cordoning off and going in there with scissors and looking for tripwires and landmines and stuff like that. It was definitely a lot of explosives left in Bosnia. You couldn't drive out the gate out there without somebody walking up to you with an armful of damn RPGs or something like that. Dud rockets, and giving them over to us. Yeah, it's a bummer, man. It's really funny being 50 years old and limping around and stuff. People don't realize what you do to your body when you're doing combat training, especially the higher level stuff. I mean, I literally remember walking past buddies of mine on a trail or something out there doing a land nav course. And, on the jungle boots, you got the little vents on the side, so they'll let the water, squish out of your boots when you get out of the stream or whatever. And I remember this one really big guy from Oklahoma, always had a smile on his face, wonderful guy. But I remember walking and looking down and noticing that blood was squirting out of the vents on his jungle boots because his feet were so tore up. And he just smiling and driving on. Yeah, it's really it's tough on your body. That's another reason why I got out too. So I wanted to be able to walk and interact with my grandkids. But yeah. Okay, we got some folks crashing, Jay. Hopefully I didn't miss all of you guys saying good night. I know Jordan had to go. I sit here bumping my gums and not paying attention to the chat. Let's see. Well, I'll tell you one thing that you don't do is you don't deactivate mines. I didn't deactivate mines. We had a person in a rotation before me in Brčko, Bosnia, had picked up an anti-personnel mine and took his Gerber out and was trying to disarm it and ended up getting the Gerber put through his head. That's just something I would refuse to do. I got called out one time to do this was in Iraq, and there was a really small town out there in the desert, maybe 300, 400, 500 people or something like that, and there was a booby trap and there was a bomb in a school out there, and I got tasked to take 2 other vehicles out and take care of it. So we pull out. I didn't have any translators with me. There wasn't any available. So I just roll out, me, 2 other Humvees full of guys. We pull into this town. I get everybody set out. I'm like, just pull security, keep everybody away, do the best you can. And, you know, you get townspeople coming out and swarming. They weren't hostile or nothing like that. They were curious, trying to see what was going on. And they come out, and I've got my guys trying to keep them back and communicate as best they can. And I go in, and there was this particular device. It was really simple. All it was is a grenade that had the pin pulled and a piece of paper wrapped around it with some writing that, it's foreign, Iraqi, whatever they call it. So I sat there for about 15 minutes looking at it and kind of manipulating a little bit, trying to figure out if there was any way, because I wanted to try and salvage the intel there. I wanted to try and salvage that paper, but I also didn't want to blow my face off. So I messed with it for a little while before I finally decided to just take a couple stick. I strapped taped a quarter stick of C4 to it, leaned it up over the top, stepped outside, blew it in place. And that's the way we manage that stuff. Anytime we'd see any kind of a device, we would blow it in place unless there was absolutely no way we could safely do that. There's no reason to risk your own life or the life of anybody else just so you can say you disarmed a bomb. So much better to just be done with it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It wasn't so much the spiders, it was the scorpions. There was a ton of scorpions out there. You know, you wake up in the middle of the night, you'd always see one running around. And it was actually one I took a shower shoe and dropped it on it one time, and it just killed it dead. So I set it up on my desk. I'd built myself a desk out there, and I just set it up there. Everybody would see it, and they'd lose their mind. It's a term you don't hear every day. Embrace the suck. That's what we do. Let's see. I wonder what my retake is back there doing. Let's see. If he looks like he wants to come out, maybe I'll go ahead and get him out for a second. Which one is it? Hey, buddy. Want to come out and say hi? Want to come out and say hi? He's back there curled up right now with the leave me alone look on his face. Come out. Come out. There you go. There you go. Get on moving. Oh, come on. There you go. You left me a surprise in here too, didn't you? Okay. Good one. Getting all wrapped up in the vegetation in there. Somebody has got a lot of energy tonight. It's a shame too. I really need to upgrade the camera here. Using an old webcam right here, but it just does no justice to his color. I do have one really good video that I managed to get on Facebook from him last time I had him outside. And his Orange Glow Phantom male retic. Has the best disposition, but these things are so high energy that they can they can definitely keep you busy. See if I can work with him for a second, get him calmed down. So besides all of the war stories and history and all that other stuff, who has some questions that I've missed? Because I know I've missed a million of them trying to keep up with all this stuff. Looks like everybody's kind of starting to wind down a little bit, but what are you doing? Oh yeah, this is an awesome animal right here. This is compliments of Aubrey Pruitt. Orange Glow Phantom, he's possible head ocelot. I have no intention of breeding him, so I probably will never know. But Aubrey's known for the ocelots that he's got out there, so there's a possibility that he's got some of that in him. Let's see. Oh, no, I've actually got a whole box full of crickets over here. That's what my rough scale green snakes eat. I'll feed them crickets, worms, stuff like that. So they are insectivores. Let's see. Oh yeah. This guy's amazing. And I'm going to start doing some more videos with him. And it's so much easier managing this guy than it is going down here with my 16 footers and pretending that I'm in good enough shape to wrestle them for any length of time and talk at the same time, because I'm really not. Should see him, man, especially my male. My female is not too bad. She'll get out when I get her outside. She's kind of mellow. She kind of roams around and does her own thing. My male, when I get him out there, I mean he's over 16 feet and over 80 pounds. But as soon as I put him on the ground, man, he's gone. So I am always, and he's always shooting straight for the woods or someplace where he's not supposed to be. So I'm always picking him up and dragging him back. And after 2 or 3 times of doing that, man, I'm dripping sweat and panting. And so. Really, dude? See, I love retics, but God, so much energy. He's got zero chill. He wants to get out and conquer the world. So yeah, anybody out there that's thinking about getting a retic, this is pretty much what you're going to be doing most of the time when you get them out. It's like climbing a rope. It's trying to get away from you. All the time. But you see how you don't restrain them too. I mean, you gotta put forth the extra effort to keep walking down them with your hands and all that stuff. You don't want to be, snatching a hold of them and hanging on like that. That's a really good way to get on their bad side, because if they feel like they're being restrained or they feel threatened, that's when you're going to start spoiling your relationship with them, and you're going to start having some bites. You're going to have a harder time getting them out of the enclosure because they're going to be less happy to be around you. So you really got to make them believe that everything that they do is their idea. And not everything that he's doing is his idea. Get up there. Yeah, see, this is Happy Retic. Just checking stuff out. He's just really high energy. But I think maybe he's starting to get a little bit tired. And he's got a death grip on my hand right now. Come on, bud. I can't mess with the mouse if you're doing that. Let's see. I probably didn't see come in earlier on a giant retic on Animal Planet. I did not see that. I have seen one picture circulating around of Medusa. I think it's out in like Kansas or something like that. I think it's a circus or a sideshow or something that owns her. If that's the one that you're talking about. So I know they was saying it was a 25-foot retic, and there's some people that are skeptical about the length, but that is a pretty big snake. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it was a 25-footer. I've been around some really massive retics before that were 22 feet that were quite a handful. All right, I'm going to get the more comments in the mouse as soon as I can get a hand free. Are you going to chill for just a second? Just a minute. Just chill. Come on. Relax. Here. Rock-a-bye, baby. Come on. Let's sit out here and be chill for a little while. Because I can't check this stuff if I got both hands occupied with you. I need to watch anything for hatching a fire leopard. Fire leopard banana ball python. Watch. Let's see. Where'd we go? Oh. Ball pythons tend to be pretty easy. Checking to make sure that you've got don't let your humidity get down too low. You want to keep them right around at least 50% humidity. You see them starting to go into blue, spray them down, pick it up a little bit, helps them shed a little bit better and stuff like that. Make sure they've got the basking spots and they've got places to hide. But the biggest thing I see that stresses people out about ball pythons is they're not always the easiest to keep on a regular feeding schedule. You get a lot of people saying, man, my ball python hasn't eaten in a week or hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. And, they get nervous about it. But they just do that. Mine do that. Matter of fact, most of my snakes periodically, will refuse. My carpet python, I don't think has ever really refused. The green tree python's not refused. My male retic is refused for 6 months before, after a big meal. My female retic may have refused one time, but she was still a growing girl, so she's not. But yeah, ball pythons, it's nothing for them to decide to go off food for a couple weeks or a month or something like that. I think that's probably the biggest concern I've seen from ball python folks. Other than that, or the fact that like they're curled up in a ball and they just won't interact with me. In that case, you just got to kind of wait them out. They're curled up in the ball because they're scared. When they start to get a little bit comfortable and realize that they're not going to get hurt, then they'll relax. Hey, how's it going, Tammy? There's a hoggy. I love my hoggies. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, as you guys can see, man, you don't have to be a movie star to get on YouTube and just start talking about stuff. Like I said, the more positive stuff. The only advice I really give to people is, don't get discouraged. Don't watch numbers. Don't think that, don't think that because you're just getting started and nobody's watching and nothing's happening, that you're doing a bad job. I mean, this is a niche, and YouTube is not one for pushing niches out. If you want to be successful on YouTube and you're looking to, get the high CPMs and all that stuff, you've got to research and you've got to put out the stuff that they want. When we put out the stuff that we want, it takes longer, it takes more patience, but it's well worth it. And just make sure that whatever you put out is accurate. I try not to put out a lot of opinion stuff. Just about everything that I say in it because it's backed up by some kind of evidence. Which means, if somebody approaches me and says you're wrong, I'm like, okay, cool. I respect that. Where's the evidence? It's like, this is the reason why I think this. This is the reason why I do this. If you show me a reason that I shouldn't do that, or I should do something different, then by all means, we can have a discussion. I'll change my views based on what information you bring to me. Maybe just maintain that level of honesty and integrity with everything, man. And nobody can fault you. You're just getting on, talking about stuff. I'm very open about what I don't know anything about, but I'm also really adamant about the things that I do know about. I think it's just about trying to be yourself and be honest, be genuine. Don't try and get attention. Doing the right thing in the long run will get you the best attention. So, all right. Hey, man, if you're still on, good night. Thanks for hanging out. Let's see. You've seen that one come through. Burmese pythons. Difference between Burms and retics. Retics are semi-arboreal, especially when you get into localities and stuff like that. When you see them in the wild, you're going to find them up the trees and stuff like that. Burms they tend to be a little bit heavier bodied. They tend to be more terrestrial. Outside of the basic differences between size and pattern and stuff like that, they're pretty similar animals. The keeping of them, the husbandry, the interaction is all really similar. Retics, of course, we say retics are a lot more reactive than Burms, but I mean, I've seen it go both ways. It's so dependent on the animal and how they've been raised and what they're used to, how they've been handled. I've seen retics that, you can just open the door up, reach in, take them out. And I've seen other ones where as soon as you walk by the enclosure, they're trying to bite you through the glass. And I've seen the same thing with Burms too. So it depends a lot, but they're really similar. One of these days, I think I need to do a breakdown, kind of educate myself a little bit better in the biological differences and what it is that, outside of not being able to interbreed, different species. That's one of the distinctions between species is not being able to interbreed, but you can get bat eaters, of course, but they're still considered different species. So, like I said, one of these days I need to do a deep dive into that and put some stuff out. What's this? Let's see. Giant retic on Animal Planet was 50 feet. They fed it dogs. I don't know. You're getting more into Titanoboa territory with 50 feet. I would not buy that. I would not buy that at all. Like I said, you'll hear people talk about they've found 30-foot retics and stuff like that. I mean, I'm personally of the belief that, out there in the jungles somewhere, there's a damn 25, 30-foot snake that nobody's seen that lives off farm animals. It's possible. But as far as I know, the largest confirmed retic was, close to 25. You can always get anomalies and stuff like that, but yeah, if it starts getting close to 30 feet, you can pretty much guess it's a fish story, unless they've actually got a carcass there that they can measure. Let's see. Yeah, retics are awesome, man. I think they're among the best snakes to keep. They really are. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I'm fairly certain. Fairly certain a 50-foot snake is a fossil if they found it. Yep. And see, this is where our humility comes in because, like I said, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to genetics. So, as far as what morph is going to do what, I know a lot of people that are really on the ball with this stuff and can answer these questions, but I am not one to guess. So, I do not want to give anybody bad information. But yeah, I can definitely direct you towards somebody or pass that question along, get you an answer to it. But I definitely don't want to guess. Yeah, see, we've already got some folks in chat helping out too. So that helps. Let's see. It's a good question. You think under any circumstances a retic could make a good first pet snake? Man, most people will say a retic is the worst first pet snake you can get. And I tend to agree with that. But there's a caveat. It really does depend on the person. Retics are awesome. I've got two 16-footers downstairs. They're incredibly easy to work with, incredibly trustworthy animals. The only thing is the mass. You've got to be able to muscle around an 80, 90, 100-pound snake. But, that goes into always having somebody else there, always having help when they get big and stuff like that. The things you can get a mainland retic as your first snake. That being said, you've got to have hands-on experience working with these snakes before you take on the responsibility. You've got to interact with somebody else's animals, and you've got to interact with multiple animals, and you've got to have bad experiences. You've got to be in a situation where you've got a big snake that's striking at you. All of this stuff. And the reason why I say that is because it's possible to get a retic as your first snake, but there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with it. a lot more so than if you're getting a boa or a carpet python or something like that. Um, you'll see people that will sell really well socialized, real easy to work with retics to people. They can end up getting big, continue to just be easy to work with, and so forth. And the person can work with that animal and get completely comfortable with it. But they move over and they start working with somebody else's animal and are completely clueless. Because the personality differences between these animals can be that drastic. You can get some of them that will never hurt you under any circumstances, and you get some of them that want to kill you as soon as they see you because they're that terrified of people. But either way their personality goes, you still got to know how to deal with emergencies. You got to know how to deal with bites. You got to know how to deal with an animal that, if something happens and their demeanor changes, you still got to get in there and manage them and clean their enclosures and so forth. Are you going to be able to manage a 12, 14, 16 foot retic that for some reason all of a sudden hates you? But you've still got to get in there and manage it, get its enclosure clean, because you can't leave it sitting in a dirty enclosure. Stuff like that. Plus, you've got the responsibility to anybody else in your household, anybody else that's going to be interacting with that animal, to know how to manage an emergency. What happens if somebody else goes up without your permission, goes in, gets bitten and wrapped up? Do you know how to manage a bite? You know how to get them to release? Do you know how to keep yourself from getting stitches when you get bit? There's a lot of bad things that can happen with them. There's a lot of great things that can happen with them too. But I think anybody that's going to be getting a mainland retic needs to spend a lot of time working with a lot of different animals and getting comfortable with them. Because, everything's perfect until it's not. And, if you're going to be responsible for the animal, you got to be able to deal with those situations. Or at the very least, besides the basic stuff of having enough space and giving them the right enclosures and heat and humidity and stuff like that, and having somebody else there available once they get, 10, 12 feet long, having a second person available to handle them, having somebody else nearby you that you trust that's really well versed with that, so that if you start seeing bad behaviors in your animal, you've got somebody close that you can say, okay, I'm not comfortable with this. Can you come over and help me? So overall, super dwarfs are great. But the problem is that if you're buying your first snake, a lot of times folks don't know who the reputable breeders are for the localities. And it's real easy to find somebody that's going to push something off as a locality that ends up getting 16, 18 feet long because they lied or mistook the genetics, or there's a mix up or something like that. So there's any number of things. I don't know. Just before you get into larger constrictors, it's just you should really be of the frame of mind that by the time you get one, you're confident that you can manage it. And not just confident because you think you can, confident because you've actually managed them before. And you've actually worked with a big snake and you know exactly what it's like to have a 16, 18 foot animal and moving it around. And it's an entirely different experience, man. The first times you get in there with a really big snake like that, even if you've had ball pythons, carpet pythons, and all that stuff your whole life, been around your whole life, the second you get in there with a big snake that's a little bit edgy, that if it got on you, you'd need help getting it off, really humbling experience. And you don't want that first experience with an animal like that to be the one that you've got in your house and you're there alone and it somehow popped the door off and escaped the enclosure. And now you're there and you got to figure out how to get this animal that you really don't know how to manage back into the enclosure. Any number of things can happen. And it's all stuff that if you're going to be a responsible keeper, you've got to be prepared for. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that nobody should ever get a retic as a first pet, but you damn well better make sure that you've got a lot of experience working with big snakes. You know exactly what you're getting into, and you've got the help and support to do it right. So, let's see. And there I go. Ignoring all of these chats. I'm just trying to keep up, but. Oh yeah, yeah. Berms are not they're not dumb snakes at all. I've got a male berm downstairs that's just they're a little lower from an activity level perspective, but they're definitely they definitely recognize their keepers. They can definitely really interactive. My male berm downstairs, some of you guys may have seen videos before where I open up the door and he just shoots right out to interact with me. They're really awesome. Yeah, I think berms, maybe a little bit easier for people that prefer a little bit less reactive snake. Yeah, I couldn't imagine. Like I said, the biggest retic I've worked with was 22 feet. I couldn't imagine a snake 10 feet bigger than that. That would just be such a humbling experience. There we go. Yep. That's it. Somebody is finally chilled out. Look at this guy. And sitting here just like that. I was really happy to get this guy. It's nice to be able to sit here and chat with a retic and not be completely exhausted. He's a good guy. Yeah, boas are really good. And boas are a good size. Boas will trip people up sometimes, though. Even mine, they like to set with their neck in that S pattern, and they always look like they're getting ready to bite you, whether they are or not. Throws a lot of people for a loop. I'll look at mine when he's wanting to come out or something like that, and I'll open up the door and he just sits there, and it's like you almost expect to get bit, and then he starts going nuts with his tongue and coming out. But they are a little harder to read, but not impossible. They're, like I said, from a size perspective, man, they're a lot better for most folks than a retic. But I don't know, it's so hard to explain if you're not used to working with retics. The intelligence of these guys and the way their brain works is so much different from any other snake that you're going to work with. I mean, you can legitimately see them, especially when you're outside doing stuff. You can see them processing their environment. You can see them thinking about stuff. Or like you can see this guy right now trying to get out of the light so he can go chill out. Come on, bud. There. You did good. What are you doing? Let you go home. All right, so I got a retics, got me in a full Nelson. Come on, bud. You're such a damn brat. Get off of. Come on. All right, you. Try to be nice. You're gonna make me manhandle you. All right. So let him go back. I think he was tired of trying to. Yeah, I am. Believe it or not. I don't know, man. Just sat down here and started talking about something else and talking about something else. And every time I get caught up to the end of the chat here, something else comes up. So, not going to be an all-nighter, though. That's a good question. And there's no way that full Nelson could go badly. That snake is entirely too small. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yep, I've got to get this new enclosure finished up for this new super dwarf that's coming in. Let's see, what's this? Yeah. You know, I just don't buy the 49-foot python thing, man. You can go on the internet and find proof that the earth is flat, too. You can make a really good case for it, but I don't believe that either. Yeah, you get around 50 foot, you're talking of Titanoboa fossils and stuff. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had the green tree out. He hung out for a little while. Actually, hung out for quite a while. But he went back to sleep. Okay. Well, if there's any last minute questions, man, throw them out there. I'll try and get through them as quick as I can. But I don't even know what. Holy shit. It's 12 o'clock. Okay. Well, I wasn't planning on being on this long, but. But anyway, I guess the plan here is going to be well, that's what I'm saying. I was like, nobody found a 50-foot snake. The closest thing to a 50-foot snake that would have been found would be a fossil. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Indian villagers. I still don't buy it. They're like fish stories, man. Yeah, I've got a. See, he was asking. Colubrids, I keep Florida king snake, 2 hognose, the 3 rough scale green snakes. I think those are the only colubrids I got. Only ones. But yeah, guys, I think I'm getting ready to call it a night here. Don't forget, man, we're building up a Patreon. I've had a lot of folks jumping on. I'm going to start putting more effort into building that up. Yeah, anybody that wants to jump on there, definitely always appreciate the support. If you're not subscribed to the channel, jump down and do that real quick. I'm going to be tomorrow. I'll be doing another handling with Bob and see if we can get him out a little bit more peacefully than we have the last few times. Try a couple different things with him over the course of the next couple handlings, and then I'll probably record trying to feed him Sunday as well, so everybody can kind of see what he does. But appreciate everybody hanging out. I'll have to do another one of these. I'll just do these things periodically when I've got time to jump on and start chatting with everybody. See who comes in. maybe drag a couple guests in, stuff like that. But I'm gonna get out of here. So I appreciate you guys hanging out, man. It's been fun, and I will catch you later at some point. I'll probably publish this video out tomorrow, and we can I'll do a live premiere of it so we can talk about how Bob does on handling session number 7. So, all righty, guys. You guys have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.